Hey everybody, Miss Ladybug here. This is the second in my three-part series commemorating 5 years of using YouTube as a platform for sharing my journey coming off pharmaceuticals and my use of cannabis for that purpose. So this is part 2 of 3, and it is about tapering, detox, and withdrawals, the saga that went on and still have some of that happening to me. For those who have been following my channel for all these years, you know most of my history, but I will give a little background here. I was started my first time of being medicated with any kind of anti-anxiety medication was in 1985 when I lost a child. Everyone thought it would be a good idea for me to have some Valium, and I took it appropriately, and it did what it was supposed to do. Then when I got divorced in 1998, oh no, nuts. Oh gosh, I get my dates wrong. Sorry. When the brain has been injured the way mine is, sometimes you have to back up. So I got divorced in 1989 is when I first got separated from my children's father. And about 6 months after that, being a single mom with 3 kids, not having any support, and struggling, I had a panic attack. And I ended up in the ER. I was working on a lawn. I had a landscaping business at that time, landscape maintenance business, and I was working inside a hedgerow, and I had a panic attack and left all my equipment and went to the emergency room. And that was the first time I had a Xanax, and what an amazing medication that was for the moment that I was struggling so badly. It made me feel so much better, and I wasn't sleepy or didn't feel like I couldn't function or anything like that, so I was really grateful. Then some other things started happening in my life, and they decided I had depression, which I probably had had for years and years. Actually, I know now that I had undiagnosed, untreated complex PTSD most all my life, and these diagnoses of depression and generalized anxiety disorder or major depressive disorder were in all actuality the injury that had happened to my brain with the complex PTSD. But anyway, so they started me on antidepressants, and between the antidepressants and the occasional use of Xanax, it started disrupting my sleep. And so then they started giving me Ambien, and back in the early 90s and the late 90s, I was on so many medications, and I'd go through periods of time where I would be on this load of medications, and then I would start feeling better, and so I would taper off, and then I'd have an upset, either an injury or a relational issue. And of course, if I had any signs of being super sad or being super mad, everyone always said, oh, you need to go back on your antidepressants. Of course, nobody ever talked to me about mindfulness and meditation and spending time in nature and diet and processing and EMDR and so many of the other things that I've used. Nobody talked about those things. Anyway, in 2010, I was injured and at work, and they were piling on meds. I was already on Effexor. I was already taking Xanax, like only one a day at that time, for sleep, mostly. I also was on Oxy or Percocets at that time. I was taking like 1 or 1.5 a day. But after this injury, things escalated. They tried putting me on OxyContin. That lasted about 4 days. And then it was just this, muscle relaxers, and then I got depressed because I couldn't work and became disabled. And so the meds in 2010 just started getting thrown at me for fibromyalgia, for pain, for depression, for anxiety. And I got worse. I got worse and worse and worse. And in 2014, I was introduced to cannabis as medicine. I had used cannabis recreationally years before, and gave it up when I was, being a mom and working and all of that. And I started using the cannabis, and I was just using it kind of as an adjunct to try to help, at bedtime or for pain mostly. And someone said, if you use cannabis oil, that can probably replace a lot of your medications. It would help your endocannabinoid system be getting its needs met, and your receptors would be filled. It helps with pain. It's an anti-inflammatory. It helps with depression. It helps wonderfully with PTSD and nightmares and sleeping issues. So I started using it. And that was in 2014. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I really, really didn't. Even as a nurse, I didn't understand all the implications of how all these medications had affected my body and my mind and my spirit. And anyway, I started tapering. First I was tapering off some of the, allergy meds and muscle relaxers, things that didn't seem to impact me too terribly bad with any kind of withdrawal type symptoms. But then in 2015, I really started focusing on getting off the opiates and like really tapering them down. And I also was tapering down slowly, but not on any kind of a system, just, trying to take less or cutting a tablet in half of the Xanax. So I was in 2015, I was on Effexor, I was on oxycodone, I was taking daily Tylenol and ibuprofen, I was taking daily Benadryl for sleep. What else was I on? I have my list somewhere. So I started really focusing on getting the opiates gone, and but also, like I said, was slowly lessening the amount of the other things that I was taking, except for I was staying on the antidepressant because I thought that's what I really needed. That's what everyone always said, that I should be on that for the rest of my life. So I took my last opiate May 10th of 2016. And it really wasn't bad. I had got down to where I was at 5 milligram oxycodone daily, and I just stopped. And I wasn't having too bad of symptoms, but I had a lot of stuff going on where I was. A lot of really hard, difficult things to deal with. People weren't being very kind, and it was very difficult for how I felt, and didn't even really know how I felt. So between May 10th and July 12th, I kept tapering down on the Xanax, and I ran out. And I just was like, okay, I've come down from 4 milligrams down to 1 milligram. I'm just going to stop, And I knew to watch myself for signs and symptoms that I was going to have struggles. I knew about watching my blood pressure and watching my heart rate, and if I was sweating, and all those signs of, detox and withdrawals. And I really wasn't having them. I just was irritable, very irritable. And as time progressed, I got more and more irritable. And then I stopped on July 12th. I stopped the benzos. And between that time, I'd had a couple meltdowns, and it just wasn't good. And then I jumped off the benzos, and things just really escalated. I ended up in a psychiatric unit 2 different times in September of 2016, both for 12 days, both times getting more medications prescribed, because I had got down to where all I was taking was the Effexor and an occasional Benadryl, and that was all I was taking, and just using cannabis. And of course, when I went to the hospital, they added on Seroquel and Ativan and clonidine and mirtazapine, and so I was back into it again and had to spend the next 2 years tapering off those, because I knew I wanted to find out what I was like without being medicated. I had been medicated for over 25 years, off and on, and I really wanted to see. And over the course of this time, I had over 70 symptoms. They were awful. Depersonalization, derealization, akathisia, burning feet, burning hands, burning brain spasms, difficulty focusing, lack of concentration, severe agitation, difficulty regulating emotions, difficulty regulating temperature. I mean, nothing was regular. Nothing was normal. Everything was really whacked out. And along this journey, I realized there is nothing that allopathic medicine, Western medicine, has to help with this except for more pills. They don't have anything to help us with these horrible symptoms that we deal with, that are the result of taking medications as prescribed, but they have side effects, and some of them can be very long lasting for some people. And over 35% of people that are on antidepressants or benzodiazepines or opiates is going to have a hard time after they come off of them. I'm at 4 years off everything on January 1st, and I still have symptoms. I still find that I get easily agitated. I don't handle upsets the way that I did when I was working as a nurse and was getting commendations for being able to handle upsets so well. I don't do that anymore. I struggle staying focused. I'm finally reading. I'm so grateful about that, but I still can't write. I used to write a blog, and I'd like to get back into that. And I'm trying to start a health coach and cannabis business, and the writing part holds me up, but I'm still going to do it, because I think I have a lot to share after what I've been through. But it really was and is a saga of hell. I mean, I lost family, I lost friends, I lost places to live. I was so alone. I was in a tent for 7 months. I was in my RV. This is the first winter I haven't had to hustle wood and hustle around about water freezing and hustle around about propane in years. I'm so grateful that my comfort needs are being well met today, because there was very little comfort during those hellish years when I was so sick and so alone. It was very terrifying at times to be in that tent, and I couldn't breathe right, couldn't think right, my body wasn't functioning right, I didn't have access to take a shower or to cook things. It was really scary, and everyone that I had loved all my life was treating me like I was possessed and they wanted nothing to do with me. So I was very alone through most of those first few years. Yes, there was a few people that showed me kindness, and I'm so grateful. You that showed me any kindness, gave me a place to stay for a little while, or helped me fix my truck, or helped me with cannabis, people who gave me cannabis, people who taught me about cannabis. I am so grateful. I truly don't believe, had I not made the choices that I did to get off meds and to use cannabis and had the help that I did have, I don't think I'd be here. You know, I battled suicidality for almost over 2 years through this saga of coming off meds and the ensuing withdrawals and everything that's happened to my body. I've had to move so many times. I've just had nothing really that has made this easy. There hasn't been an ease to this journey. It's been learning to do things differently than I've ever done them before, to the point that even my belief systems have changed, and my way of looking at things and perceiving people has changed. I've always been a compassionate person, but I'd like to think that I'm a lot more compassionate today than I ever was back then, just because I understand better that there's so much you don't see when you look at somebody. There's the inside job that's going on you don't see, and even if people try to share with you, no one else could have done this for me. No one could have taken away all of the angst and the pain and the scariness. But I will say, I do believe with everything within me that having a quality, loving, kind support system while you're going through this makes a difference. I've seen plenty of people, and it makes a difference if they're being supportive and believed and loved, instead of ostracized and demonized and criticized for making an extraordinarily difficult challenge with not a lot of support systems available. There is no support in Western medicine for us. There really isn't. There's a few doctors that will be more understanding and that might listen to what you have to say. There are some therapists that still can teach you some great skills that can help, but you just have to go through it. I had to go through it. Lots of people go through it. And it's not fun, and it's hard, and no one can say how long it will take. You know, I'm at 4 years off everything, 5.5 years off benzos and opiates, and I still have symptoms that have altered the way that I live my life. I don't do everything the way that I used to because I can't. My brain doesn't work that way anymore. But I'm doing pretty well, despite having a few handicaps. I just, I don't have all the same abilities that someone who's not been injured this way does. But there's a lot of suffering in the world. And what I went through, that was my suffering. I have friends that are battling cancer right now. I have other friends who just in the few last short weeks had a child die. None of us can say my pain or what I've gone through is worse than anyone else's. You don't know. It's just really bad for you. We can't compare to others. We can't, and I did when I was going through it. I did, because that's how I felt at that moment, that no one else could possibly understand, because, if you say you have cancer, you get support, usually, but it still hurts. You're still really sick. You're still really scared. So I do understand that a lot of people get really frustrated because we don't have support and we don't get the recognition, but things will change in time, and it's a societal thing. People don't like sickness, and they especially don't like sickness they don't understand, and when it isn't the same for everyone across the board, they judge it, and that's just how humanity is. But everybody has a struggle, and everybody has an opportunity to learn and grow past their struggle. And I don't think we have to live with struggle forever. I think we can find peace and we can find joy even with having symptoms that are still lingering. It's a daily choice for me. It really is. I choose to smile. I choose to find gratitude of whatever is happening that is a blessing in my life. I choose to be kind to others to the best of my ability. Am I perfect? Oh, heck no. I still have my mouth vomit on people sometimes. I'm human. And so I give myself grace, and I try to give other people's grace. I will say my tolerance for bullshit is very low compared to what it used to be. I used to put up with a lot of stuff that people would say and do, and manipulations and lies, and I have a really low tolerance for that anymore. I work too hard at my life. If people aren't meeting me at least at my level of being kind and compassionate and caring and not all about whatever's going on with them in the moment and no one else matters, I probably am going to walk away. I just don't have the energy for that. And that's okay. That's part of my new path of not everybody's for me, and that's all right. And people don't always get along, and that's all right. Some people I'll probably make more efforts than other people, depending on the length of the relationship I've been in and its significance in my life. But there's a lot of people who have just been, they were there for a while and now they aren't. And that used to hurt me so bad, to lose friends or to lose, potential acquaintances. But anymore, it doesn't. It doesn't hurt. It frees me, because I don't need to be dragged down by other people and other people's stuff. And so I have learned and changed so much over these last 5 years, 6, 7 years. It's been a journey. We're going on, 7 years since I first started using cannabis as a medicine. So it's been a journey, and I'm just today really grateful that I've done the things that I've done, because here I am. I'm glad that I've done this page, this YouTube page, when I couldn't write my blog, so that I could share what was going on, and now I can go back and look. And I'll tell you, looking at those early videos when I was crying and losing my mind and things crawling on my skin and itching all the time and sweating and freezing and headache, and I'm so grateful that I'm here and that I'm as good as I am, and I'm pretty good, and I want to help other people. I want to help you hold on to whatever little ray of hope. And if you don't have any hope, I want to help show you that there is hope. If you watch my channel and you go through all the videos that I have posted here and you see the change, I hope that gives you hope. Because if you're hurting and struggling just coming off meds and going through all that stuff like I described, with all those horrible symptoms and feeling so alone and so frightened, and that there's no help, you have support. There are people like me who are doing better, and we will support you, and we will help guide you to the best of our ability. So Follow those who are doing well. Try to find something inside you that makes you want to get through this. Because there's goodness on the other side. And even along the journey, you'll be surprised and amazed at the wonderful things that if you open your eyes, they are right in front of you. There's good things out there. Anyway. So the saga does continue because I'm still having some symptoms that I'm not thrilled with and that I think that are still associated with the withdrawals from all these different medications. But there's no way to know for certain. It could be just my PTSD. It could be aging. It could be other things that have been missed. Who knows? I just know I'm living with what I've got going on and I'm doing the best I can. And it's okay. Even if it's not perfect. Even if it's not ideal. Even if it still hurts some days. I'm getting better. Just like you will. We do get better. It just takes a long time for some people. If you've been on meds for a long, long time, it's going to take you longer. So, anyway. That's the second part of this 3-part series. And I will have one more episode for this 3-part series next week before the new year. And it will be about where we are today and what we hope for the future. All right? So I hope you're doing well. Enjoy the winter. It's time to snuggle down and really do some inner focusing work. Now it's time for quiet, not time to push. So breathe and rest and settle into the winter. All right. Peace, y'all. Love ya.